So today we're going to learn how to make a dye, a representation of the prep color. So when you're dealing with all ceramic restorations, a lot of these ceramic restorations today are very translucent. And depending on what shade they are produced in, you may need to color stain on top of it to blend in with the natural dentition. These happen to be zirconia restorations. This is a bleach, extra translucent. This is a 3M2 extra translucent. So with color, you have less bleed through of the prep shade than maybe a brighter shade. So how do we determine how much color stain do we add so that we don't overcolor it? Well, we first start off with determining what the prep shade is. So we actually need the prep shade as well. Not only the target shade, the external target shade, but we need to know what that prep shade or that canvas shade in. So we need some sort of designation for the prep color. Once you determine that, you take your restoration, you go ahead and use a lubricant, a insulation material. We lightly add a little bit inside the restoration. We go around, make sure that we cover the marginal edge as well, but just enough to barely wet it. And then you're going to take a composite of the designated prep shade, and you'll use this and you'll extrude some of this composite into the restoration. Just take a pinch. You've got your crown. You go ahead and just insert it, push in the composite, and then you're going to need like a little stir stick, or this is a ribbed composite stick. The rib here will help with mechanical retention, and the stick itself will be used as a holder. You can use a straw or any other plastic stick as well. Just cut in some mechanical grooves. We insert this into the composite, and then we begin to start forming by pinching your composite, and while pinching it, trying to create kind of a root form, you're also pushing it up against the margin so that when you stain or add glaze to this, your margin is covered at the edge, so stain material or glaze material will not come inside the crown. This can also be used to help polishing so that you don't polish your margins and cut them short. So we just keep a few seconds here, just keep pinching it in, pushing it against your stick. Try to go to the margin but not over the margin. Once done, it'll be like a shape of a root. If you see any like little overhangs, undercuts, go ahead and pinch that while it's still soft, just to make sure that the margin is sealed. And there you have it. You have a nice prep that represents, you have a nice dye now that will represent the prep shade, and it will contrast against your all ceramic restoration so that you can add the right amount of stain color. And you'll notice right away here, depending on the translucency of your material, you can see some bleed through, a little bit of bleed through of this prep color. So we know that the prep is going to add color through the all ceramic restoration. So we just need to add just enough stain so that we can correctly match your external desired shade. in this case a 0M1. So you go from this to this, adding a little bit of color and match it up. Now, just a hint, if you use a little bit of fluid, of your stain fluid first, and add to the external surface of your restoration prior to staining glazing, it'll give you that glossy look. So if you add a little bit of stain or glaze onto the surface of your restoration, you'll now be able to see the glossness and the color show through a little bit more. So you want to look at your all ceramic restoration with some sort of fluid, whether it's water and or the stained glaze liquid or the glaze itself. Cover it first so you can kind of see the shininess, the texture, and now you'll go through and add your stain as needed. Now this prep, this dye, can also be cured. I don't have this cured right now, but you can cure it if you desire. And that way, if you do polish it, it's hardened so that it's not going to bend with the force of polishing. Now at this point, you would just go ahead and add your glaze. And now that I have a dye, I don't have to worry so much about the glaze going inside the restoration. Because that dye is protecting the margin. So after you add glaze to your restoration on the dye that represents the canvas or your prep shade, you line it up with your shade tab, in this example 0M2, and now you can really see how much color we need to add to your all ceramic restoration to match up. When we see this, I see a little bit more whitish or brightness to the zirconia restoration compared to the 0M2. So I'm going to add a little bit of chroma stain M2 to the restoration and match it up. Because I have the dye protecting the margin, I can actually add some stains down by the cervical. We can do this by adding along the cervical a little bit of this M2. I usually do just a band around the cervical, a little bit heavier than I need, and then I go back and I draw my stains a little bit more incisively. And I do this until I can recognize that the color of the ceramic restoration is comparable to my target shade. Now, if you've added a little too much, just rinse your brush out, grab a little bit of glaze, and you're just going to thin out that color you've added. Until you've matched it up. And that's all you have to do. So without that background dye, that prep, I would not know how much color to add. If you see a little bit too much, you can go ahead and take it away, thin it out until you've reached your perfect match. And that's what you use a dye for, so that you can understand how much color stain to add.